In this video, we're going to talk about two different measures of variation. The first one that we're going to talk about is the range, and this is the difference between the maximum data value and the minimum data value. So to calculate the range, we take the biggest or the maximum data value minus the smallest or the minimum data value. This just gives us a very general idea of how spread or how far apart our data are. The other one is the standard deviation, and this is a measure of how far all of our data values are from our mean. And so to calculate a sample standard deviation, first thing you're going to want to do is take all of your data values and subtract from them the mean, x bar. And then you're going to square that. And the reason that we square it is because we want the length of the distance that a data value is from the mean, and we don't want to be looking at, so some of these are going to end up being negative, and you don't want the negatives in there because then the negatives and the positives will cancel each other out, and it will take away from the effect of how far our data are from the mean. So that's why we square it. And so after you square, you're going to add all of those up and then divide by n minus 1. And because we did this squaring, we need to take the square root of this after we're done. The other formula is just for a population, so it's the exact same thing. The notation is different, so we always use Greek letters, or we usually use Greek letters for populations. And so the Greek letter that we use here is called sigma, and the formula is the same. So it's the sum of the x minus the mean squared divided by now capital N. And one big difference here is that you don't subtract 1 when you're calculating it for a population, and then take the square root. The subtracting of 1 for the sample is to take care of a little bit of error that occurs. Here is the example that we're going to run through. We're going to do this twice. We're going to do it once by hand, and then I'll also show you how to do this in StatCrunch, which is what you have available in My Math Lab when you're doing your homework or while you're taking your quizzes. You can also do this on your graphing calculators or a scientific calculator. There are a ton of videos out there on how to compute things using your graphing calculators. Feel free to go ahead and search that on YouTube and you will come up with a bunch of videos on how to use your graphing calculator to calculate a standard deviation. So let's go ahead and start. The very first thing that we need to do is calculate our mean, x bar, because we need to subtract that from all of our data values. And this table is really useful in calculating a standard deviation. So x bar is 600 plus 470 plus 170 plus 430 plus 300. Sorry, I ran out of room here. And then we have to divide that sum by 5, the number of data values that we have. So I'm just going to go ahead and compute that. So I get 394 for my mean. And so now we're going to take 600 minus 394. That gives me 206. And then we need to square that. So you might as well go ahead and square it right now while it's in your calculator. And we get 42,439. Sorry, 36. And then take 470 minus our mean of 394. And we get 76. And then square that. And that's 5,776. And 170 minus 394, we get negative 224. And then square that, gives us 50,176. 430 minus 394 gives us 36. Squaring that gives us 1,296. 300 minus 94 is negative 94. And then squaring that gives us 8,836. Now we want to add up this column. So 42,436 plus 5,776 plus 50,176. Okay, so now we take our total 108,502 and we divide that by n minus 1, and our n is 4. And then after we do that, we need to take the square root. Let's write this below. So the square root of 27,125.5. And square root of that gives us 164.69, so that would round to 0.7 millimeters. Okay, so that is how to calculate one by hand. Again, I will never ask you to do this, and so if you're uncomfortable doing this computation, you don't need to do it by hand. We'll now go into StatCrunch, and I'll show you how to do the same calculation there. So here is just a StatCrunch, or one of the homework problems, sorry, in my math lab. It's actually from your homework assignment in my math lab. And so if you can open data in StatCrunch, there's this little button, or this little symbol here. And so if I click on that, it gives me the option to open the data in StatCrunch, copy it to my clipboard so that you could paste it somewhere else, or open it in Excel. So you could copy it to the clipboard and then paste it into Minitab also if you wanted to. But I'm going to open it up in StatCrunch. The nice thing about this is that then you don't have to type the data in, and it just eliminates some places where you could make some mistakes. So here is all of my data in StatCrunch, and I have all of these options along the top. And so if you go ahead and click on Stat, and in Summary Statistics, and you can just kind of look through here to see if what you want to do is listed there. So don't be afraid to explore around and see what's available in here. But under Summary Statistics, this one's a little bit strange, but in Summary Statistics, we want to do the columns. So this is a column. A row would be going across. So this is a column of data. So we want to click on that. And then you click on the column that you want to get the summary statistics for. And down here in this blue box, it tells you exactly what they're going to give you. And you can choose which of these things you want. And so there's a whole list of them there. And over here is a list of the things that the computer is going to give you as well. So you can opt to not have some of those if you don't want to see them. But we'll just leave what they're giving us there, and then just hit compute. And then in this box, it gives us all of that information. So I have the number of data values there are, n is 11. It gives me the mean. It gives me the variance. So the variance is just the standard deviation squared. So basically when, I'll just bring that screen back up. So before we took the square root here, this number underneath this square root, this is the variance. Most of the time, however, we want to talk about the standard deviation. So I don't talk about the variance too much, but that's what the variance is. So again, here's our standard deviation. The standard error you don't need to worry about, but here's the mean. So we've looked at calculating means. The range is here as well. The minimum data value is here, so that's the smallest data value in the set of data. The maximum data value is here as well. And in a short period of time, we'll be talking about what Q1 and Q3 are. So this gives you a lot of useful information. And now, just because it's a little bit different, so if you are working on a worksheet or you're taking a quiz and for whatever reason the StatCrunch option isn't available, I want to just take you through how to use StatCrunch just from my math lab in general. Let me see if I still have that homework. Um, So over in question help is where you can go into StatCrunch when you're doing homework or when you're taking a quiz. You should have that option to go into StatCrunch from question help as well. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. So there is an option here to go to StatCrunch, so that's right here about halfway down. So you can go ahead and click on that. And getting in this way is a little bit weird, which is why I wanted to take you in and show you how to do this. And so you have two options here. You can view sets of data from your textbook. So if you know that you need to do a problem with the data from the textbook, then you can use that option, or we can just visit the StatCrunch website. So go ahead and click there if you're using your own data that you want to enter in. And then along the top here, you can open up StatCrunch from the website. So click there, and now it's opened up StatCrunch. And so I can type in the data that I had before. All right, and once you have your data in there, you can click on Stat, Summary Statistics, and Column, and then select the column that you want to get the summary statistics for, and then just click Compute. And so it gives us all of that information. So it gives us the number of data values we have, we get the mean, we get the variation, we get the standard deviation, and remember the relationship between the variation or the variance and the standard deviation is that the standard deviation is just the square root of the variance. Or you could square the standard deviation to get the variance. We have the median, the range, the minimum or the smallest value, the maximum or the biggest value. We have Q1 and Q3. So there is all of that summary information. So that is it for this video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks.